I want to thank everybody. Hello. I want to thank everybody for coming. It's so wonderful to see you all out here to celebrate Dad's lifetime achievements and his retirement. I'm going to tell a little bit about Falcon Industries, Heinz Co., how it evolved and everything like that. Steve Heinz, he was, his father was in the Santa Fe Railroad, and they got stationed in Canyon, Texas, and so he grew up in the 50s in Canyon, running around, building stuff, making stuff with his brother, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. But he found a love of tinkering, and he started an auto parts. It's called Steve's Auto Parts in Canyon, Texas. That's where I was born, and he lived most of his life. So he moved here in the 90s. So from 73 to 79, he had his own auto parts store. If you look at his book, this is his life's memorial book that he worked several years on, and you'll see pictures of Steve Heinz Auto Parts. During that time period, while we were, me and my siblings were being raised, he also was a Canyon City County Commissioner. And so he did that for 2 terms, but he kind of got tired of people coming in the auto parts store and giving him advice and telling him what he needed to do. So that was not the good part that he liked about being an elected official. So he served 2 terms from 76 to 79 doing that.
Cut the cake.
Yeah, we'll do that in a minute, okay? So while he was doing, when he was doing that, he decided he was going to go back to school and he was going to finish his degree in industrial arts. So he often, you guys know that he's a jokester and he talks about having a BS degree. Well, he really does have a BS degree, but it's in industrial arts. So yeah, in 1979 from West Texas University, he got his Bachelor of Science. Part of that, getting his degree, he went to Texas Instruments on an apprenticeship and finished out his degree doing that for a couple of years. He got laid off from TI and he decided he had sold the auto parts store. What's he going to do? He went and started doing auto reps. He often calls this his 2-year career because for 2 years he worked at an auto parts store, as an auto rep, and then he got laid off. Every 2 years he got laid off from 1981 to 1997. He worked for McQuay Norris, Champion, TRW. During the years that he got laid off, he tried to do different things to make ends meet because he still had a family to provide for. One of the things he started was called Mira Works. Mira was his grandparents, my grandmother's maiden name, and he started making European gun accessories by investment casting. So he would mold them and finish them and polish them, and he was one of the few people that made butter knife bolt handles. And he had that through 1987 to 91, and he actually had a little gun shop in Canyon for a few years in that time period. He would go to gun shows, and he also went back during one of his layoffs and worked on his industrial arts master's degree, but he didn't quite finish it. So during one of his last auto part reps, they sent him to New Mexico. He had to move to New Mexico in 1991. He was working for TRW, and he moved over here to call on the Big A stores. But then the Big A stores went bankrupt. So he decided, he had been talking to one of the other reps, and he said, why don't you make an AR style grip, a grip for an AR that looks like the HK 9193. And he thought about it, and of course you guys know Steve Heinz, he kept thinking about it, and how could he do that? And so that idea stuck with him, and he took the plunge. In 1998, he got a Bernalillo County business license. And he first called it the S.C. Heinz Company. And that was in late 1998. So my son was born in late 1998, so my son and Ergo are the same age. And he came to Washington, and he told us the idea, and me and Barb and other family members, we were supportive. We said, you know what, it's frustrating to keep getting laid off, so the worst thing that can happen is you have to go back to a job, right? So the first shop that he had was at the back of his house in Edgewood, and he worked back there, and his son-in-law and then 2 neighbor boys, and I did the bookkeeping because I lived up the road, and Barb did the shipping. And whenever we got an order, everyone was tickled. You know, we were so tickled. But you know, still to this day, I go back and Barry's getting an order ready, and I'm tickled that somebody's ordering the stuff. You know, so it hasn't worn off. That new Christmas hasn't worn off. So it was a real small operation until 2001 when things started picking up and he decided to incorporate to Falcon Industries, and he moved into the war zone and had a shop for 2 years off of Trumbull and Central. And then he decided in 2002 he was going to move over to Edgewood, and he opened up a shop there. And as you guys know, you've probably heard the story before, but he named it Falcon Industries because his first car was a 1960 Falcon. So after he went to Edgewood, he actually, one of our longest employees, he's not here today, but Francisco, started over there at the Edgewood shop, and so did Reese. And so he worked there for several years until he decided, somebody talked him in that there was some kind of tax incentive in Moriarty, and he decided we're going to move to Moriarty in 2009. And that's where they've been ever since.
7.
Okay. So he started out with, I put a lot of the products around here. These are like his children, his life's work. But he started with the first beaver tail ergo grip, and he used that tacky surface, and he got it patented. He has 18 patents, and the Sure Grip is one of his patented material. Starting with 1 grip in his backyard to over 200 products now, 22 employees, and last year 3 million in sales. So Steve, you done good. Yes.
Yeah.
So we are so.
Firearm control this country needs. Good
That's
solid grip.
Melissa,
That's right.
his mother always said he was a genius, and she was
He's
right.
a genius, that's right. He is. We are so proud of him. Everyone, his parents in heaven, and his siblings in heaven, and all the family, and all his Ergo family, and all of you all here to celebrate. We're so proud of you that we got you an award. Steve, you want to come up here? It says World's Greatest Ergonomic Engineer, Stephen C. Hines, founder of Ergo. Oh. Okay. You want to stand here? Okay.
I want to thank all of you for coming and for your love and support. It has been a wonderful to do what I love all these years, making things better and inventing. I am proud of the legacy that I am passing on to the next generation.